You will notice throughout this program that I have quite an accent. I am from Boston, Massachusetts, and people, when they find out that I'm from Boston, the first question they usually ask me is, have I ever parked the car in Harvard Yard? And my usual response to them is, no, I have never ever parked the car in Harvard Yard ever. And don't plan on it. Did you know that 1 out of every 100 people is actually unfeeling enough and suffers from some form of psychosis that to take another person's life is really no big deal? 1 out of 100. Studies further show that 50% of all people suffer some form of mental illness. Now think of everybody you know. Half of them are nuts, right? There is some truth to that. Mental disorders could be addictions, a variety of different personality disorders, manic depressive, manic aggressive, cyclothemic. There could be a pedophile. It could be a number of different things. And did you know that right now in this country that there are 500,000, that is 500,000 registered sex offenders in this country? 500,000. Now let's just say there is 50 states. Let's say that there's an average of 10,000 registered sex offenders per state. Let's just say that there's 10,000 cities and towns per state. So there's an average of 1 registered sex offender per city and town throughout the country. Now there are a lot more. If you were to do a search through your sex offender registry, you'd find that there's usually between 3 and 12 within a 2 to 4 mile radius of where you live. A few years back, I had attended a business convention in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. Then and now is known as the nation's murder capital. Now, on the last evening of this convention was an awards banquet followed by music and dancing. And as usual, I had taken full advantage of the dance floor that night. So at the end of the evening, I was very tired. I headed back to my hotel, which was 3 or 4 blocks away off of DuPont Circle. If you know anything about D.C., DuPont Circle is a large rotary. And that rotary is a large park, and in that park inhabits many undesirable people. So here it is, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking through D.C., I'm tired, I'm hunched over, I'm not paying much attention to my surroundings, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw a very large man coming out of the park, and he was heading right for me. I said to myself, Siciliano, you've been chosen. And it wouldn't be the first time. So what I did was, I strengthened my posture, stood up straight, I adopted a strong posture, I clenched my fists, I gave this guy a mean look, and then I screamed, no! And then a funny thing happened. He slumped over, he turned right around and went right back to where he came from. Now, I believe that I had avoided a potentially deadly situation that night, and fortunately I had the tools which you're learning today. Resistance has been proven to help people get out of dangerous situations. Studies show that 80% of men and women who have fought back in an attack situation got away. 80%. So you have a much better chance of getting out of a dangerous situation by offering some form of physical or even verbal resistance. Studies further show that what you do in the first 30 seconds to 1 minute of any attack situation, no matter what the situation is, the first 30 seconds to a minute, your reaction, your response to your attacker can very well determine the outcome. When somebody chooses you, they choose you because they think you're weak, they think you're frail, they think that you're not going to offer resistance. Your job is to change their opinion of you. They look upon you as a cute, furry, cuddly little kitty cat that can be easily compromised. Now think of a kitty cat that doesn't want to be picked up. And that little kid that doesn't understand the cat doesn't want to be picked up, what does that kid look like 5-10 minutes later? It's all scratched up, face, chin, neck, hands, arms, everything. Because when the cat wants to be put down, the cat gets away. You act like that kitty cat doesn't want to be picked up, you've got a much better chance of getting out of a dangerous situation. Now, let's just say you're in a situation and someone comes up to you and they start hitting on you and grabbing you. How many of you would fight back? How many of you would know how to fight back? Few of you? Okay. How many of you are parents? Raise your hand. Okay. Let's just say, parents, just to the parents now, you're walking down the street and you're with your kid. I don't care how old they are. and somebody walks up to your child and grabs him around the throat and starts to shake him. The parents, show of hands, how many of you would dive on that attack without a second thought? Every one of you. Every single one of you would protect your kid and not even think twice about it. But when I ask the same question about protecting yourself, maybe 4 or 5 people raise their hand. Why is that? Why would we protect our kid but not protect ourselves? Well, there's actually a reason behind that. First off, it's called civilized conditioning. Civilized conditioning is what mom and dad taught us when they brought us into this world. Early on, they taught us to give kisses and hugs and to say please and thank you. Over time, they taught us to be cordial towards one another. Eventually, to sit in class and pay attention. Eventually, graduate, further your education, get a job, find a mate, get married, buy a house, have babies, and live happily ever after. And all this civilized conditioning, all this niceness, respect authority, worship, trust and love your fellow man, and so on, suppresses our instinctual need for survival. Growing up, I was constantly told, keep your hands to yourself, constantly. To this very day, I'm told that. And because of that, because we're taught not to be violent, which is good, it suppresses our instinctual needs for survival. In the real world, if something was to happen to us, we act like a deer in the headlights. We don't think it can happen to us. We've never been sat down and told, you know something, there always has been, there is, and there always will be this criminal, predatory element out there stalking their prey. This is what they do.